You know, uh, you know that feeling when you walk into a truly high-end conference room or like a luxury hotel suite? You tap a piece of glass on the wall, the lights instantly dim, the shades lower. It just feels
Yeah,
effortless.
almost like magic.
Right, magic. But the reality is that that frictionless experience requires a massive amount of hidden engineering.
Oh, absolutely. The illusion of simplicity takes a lot of heavy lifting.
Exactly. So if you've ever wondered why your own smart home setup maybe lags a bit, but a corporate boardroom feels like a sci-fi movie, today we're doing a deep dive into the exact engine that makes that happen. We are looking at the specs for the Aurora Multimedia RXT-8WM-G3.
Which is a heavy-duty control system from HDTVSupply.
Right. And it's basically a perfect case study in extreme engineering because, I mean, looking at this $2,198 8-inch in-wall touch panel, it is just a powerhouse. So let's start with the brains.
Yeah, we have to start there,
Yeah.
because the spec sheet reads a lot more like a modern laptop than a light switch.
It really does. I mean, it has a 6-core, 2 gigahertz G3 processor, 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM, 32 gigs of flash memory, and it's running a Linux operating system.
I was honestly scratching my head a bit here. Like, why does a wall panel need to be so incredibly overpowered just to flip a switch or, change a slide?
Well, it really comes down to eliminating latency. In the professional luxury space, instant isn't a perk. It is the absolute baseline expectation.
Right, because if a CEO taps a button, then there's like a half-second delay, it feels broken.
Exactly. And this panel uses a framework called ReAX, which is JavaScript-based. So to make sure every single slider adjustment or button press or page flip has absolute zero lag, the hardware just has to be aggressively overbuilt.
Wait, so you need a laptop-grade processor just to make sure a human finger never has to wait?
Basically, yes. But that raw horsepower also handles the complex stuff locally. It natively runs a 2D and 3D graphics engine, plus a 4K H.264 streaming decoder.
Oh, wow. So it's not even relying on an external server? No, not at all. Instead of waiting on some distant server to do the work, it is processing those graphics and streaming high-definition video directly on the panel itself. And it does it without breaking a sweat.
Okay, so massive processing power makes sense for a lag-free screen, but, a processor is kind of useless if the device can't actually talk to the room.
Right, it needs to connect to the physical hardware.
Yeah, and looking at the back of this panel, I kind of have to push back on the tech stack because if everything in luxury spaces is going wireless, why does this futuristic panel look like a 1990s server rack?
It is pretty wild back there.
Right. I mean, it has two RS-232 ports, IR, digital I/O, 24-volt relays, a hardwired 1 gigabit LAN port with PoE and USB-C. Why rely on all these heavy industrial wires?
Well, simply put, Wi-Fi drops, but industrial reliability cannot. You mentioned RS-232, which is
Yeah.
decades-old serial communication standard.
Yeah, super old.
But it is there, because when you need a giant heavy-duty projector to reliably drop from the ceiling 10,000 times without a single failure, you just do not use a wireless signal. You use a hardwired legacy connection.
Oh, I see. So the panel is acting as the room's central nervous system.
Exactly. It translates your sleek, modern touch interface into those heavy industrial commands.
Okay, but how do you cram all that industrial wiring into a wall without completely ruining the aesthetic of a modern space?
That is the beauty of the physical design.
Yeah.
It perfectly masks all that complexity. Those connections are engineered to slide right into a standard two-gang or European-style electrical box.
Wait, really? Just a standard electrical box?
Yep, the drywall hides all the mess, and all you see is this beautiful 1280 by 800 resolution screen. It puts out 500 nits of brightness and has a 160-degree viewing angle, so it is clearly visible from anywhere.
That is incredibly slick.
Yeah.
And it is not just a passive screen either. It's loaded with sensors. But how do those actually contribute to that effortless feeling we talked about at the start?
Think about the proximity sensor. Instead of you having to physically tap the glass to wake it up, the panel uses the sensor to continually ping the environment.
So it knows when you're walking up to it.
Right. It senses you approaching, wakes the screen, and triggers an RGB LED ring around the border to welcome you.
Oh, that's cool. Like glowing green to show the room is available?
Exactly, and it does that before you even reach it. It also integrates an ambient light sensor to adjust the screen brightness automatically, plus stereo digital microphones and a 1-watt speaker.
So it is actively reading the room at all times.
It is. And since it has an internal web server, it isn't isolated to the wall. An IT manager can securely access and control that entire room remotely, right from a phone or PC.
It is just fascinating. The Aurora RXT-8WM-G3 takes massive processing power, hardwired industrial reliability, and all these environmental sensors to deliver a complete automation solution.
And surprisingly, they actually offer the software used to create these digital interfaces, the Core Studio tool, completely free.
Wow, free software on top of it all. It really makes you realize how much invisible labor goes into creating a frictionless experience.
It completely shifts your perspective on the built environment, doesn't it?
It really does. So think about the spaces you navigate daily. If it takes a 6-core processor, proximity sensors, and an internal web server just to make a conference room panel feel effortless, what other everyday, mundane conveniences are secretly hiding massive computing power right behind the drywall?